And welcome to episode 18 of the UFO Show, sponsored by Bet99 Sportsbook at bet99.com as part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Make sure to head over to area51sportsnetwork.com/betting, and you can place down up to $600. You get back $600 off your initial deposit. Thanks for joining us, and I'm here with Andy. How are you doing today?
Well, Adam, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Um, so before we do start talking about betting, why don't we just dive into something that occurred? What was it, yesterday, with former WHLer and Vancouver native Kyle Beach coming out with his emotional testimony of the sexual assault that occurred within the Chicago Blackhawks organization. That's something that is going to be remembered for a long time. It was probably one of the most important sports interviews done on television, and you got to applaud him for having the courage to come out and tell his story live.
Yeah, it like you said, very important story. It was a hard watch. I think it's about 27 minutes, but I would encourage everybody to watch it. It obviously took a lot of strength from Kyle to come out and publicly put his name on those allegations. It's a very sad situation. It angered me to read about and to hear him and the pain that he's been put through for the last 11 years. But like you said, it's very important that the story is out there, and hopefully, like Kyle said in the interview, him bringing this to light can stop the next situation like this from happening.
Yeah, it's all about learning, moving, and moving forward, and hopefully he and the other victims get the closure that they need.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, so let's jump in here right to we're not going to talk about we're going to talk about some hockey right off the bat. We're going to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and Philadelphia Flyers game tonight, but we're not going to talk about the actual odds of the game because the Vancouver is the favorite with a minus odds. So if you do put money on Vancouver, you're not going to make a lot. What we are going to look at is the player props, though, and it's the first time that we've really done a deep dive on player props in the NHL. So, are there any interesting player props on bet99.com that kind of interests you, Andy? For me, I feel like this is Besser's game to get on the score sheet. So right now, you for Besser, one goal is at plus 225. So a $10 deposit gets you $32.50.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I think Besser's playing with excuse me, with is it Miller and Podkolzin tonight? Is that who he's playing with?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean that should be a pretty strong line. I definitely like that bet. The bet for me, I'm looking at, I have two here. It's James Van Riemsdyk to score at plus 300 and Niels Hoglander at plus 350. Van Riemsdyk seems to be that kind of combination that the Canucks have struggled with historically the last few years. He's a big body, he skates pretty good, he's got a quick shot. Canucks don't really have a defenseman who can handle that package. And then Niels Hoglander is playing with Elias Pettersson tonight. So, just on reputation alone, I think Pettersson's probably going to be the main focus of that line. And, I really liked Hoglander's game so far this year. I think he's been the best Canucks forward overall. So at plus 350 for him to score, I like that bet as well.
Yeah, so the lines that, as we understand it, Niels Hoglander is going to be playing with Justin Bailey and Elias Pettersson, which should be a very interesting line within the game. That's a line that's really going to drive. They're going to forecheck hard, and hopefully they'll give Elias Pettersson some space. He can't be playing with Matthew Highmore. It just doesn't work. I'm interested to see when they actually switch Pettersson and JT Miller, so that Pedersen gets to play with Brock Besser, but that's another question of can Pedersen play with Vasily Podkolzin? You want that more veteran player with Podkolzin, but he definitely has a little bit more offensive line mates. And also, one thing that we have to remember about this game is that Philadelphia beat Edmonton 5-3 last night. They're going to be a little bit tired. Anytime that you try to shut down Connor McDavid for 60 minutes, it's going to be a handful. But one kind of bonus for the Philadelphia Flyers is in goaltending, because the Canucks will be playing Yaroslav Halak, who's only played one game this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't seen who Philadelphia is playing in net. I'd have to think it's their backup. Carter Hart played last night. So assuming it's the battle of the backups, I kind of like the over in this game on goals, which is 6.5. So over goals, 6.5 seems like a pretty solid bet. I'm just trying to look up what the payout is here. So it's minus 106 for over 6.5 total goals. It's not great. But like you said, Adam, Philadelphia is probably going to be a bit tired. Canucks have a backup goalie. They've been a complete tire fire defensively. I can see this game being, a 5-3 or a 4-3, 6-5 type game.
And so as far as I'm aware, their backup goalie is he's from Vancouver, Martin Jones, the former goaltender in San Jose. He's played one game. He played okay with Philadelphia, but Martin Jones is an adventure when he's in net. Let's just say that.
That's a good description, yes.
Now, here's one other thing to mention when you're going to be doing player props for games, and that is to make sure that you wait until the warm-ups of the game before putting in your player props. The reason is that last game, a player like Jason Dickinson, who was expected to play, didn't make the lineup. There's questions about if he's going to play tonight. Now, Bet99 has him on their website as playing, but that's something to watch. If you're going to put money on, like, for example, shots on goal for Jason Dickinson tonight is if he gets 2+, it pays out at plus 125. So before putting that bet down, you want to make sure that he's in the lineup, just like every other player, so that you don't automatically lose that bet.
Yeah, no, that's a good call out. I think it's something that's more or less been kind of overlooked in the past, but especially now with the COVID protocol and, like you said, these game time decisions with injuries, I think, you're bang on in saying definitely just make sure that the player you are going to make a bet on is in the lineup for sure. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if you're taking the under on shots or goals or something, because if they don't play, they're not going to get any shots or goals anyways. But definitely if you are betting them to, score a goal or have 3 shots or something, you want to make sure that player is actually going to be in the game.
Okay, so we've talked extensively about this hockey game. Let's move over to the NFL, because we have a big slate of games. Unfortunately, the Thursday nighter does not look very exciting. Green Bay versus Arizona. Green Bay is at plus 225, and I assume that line may have to do with the fact that J.J. Watt is out for the Arizona Cardinals, and the fact that people just seem to not really have faith in the Arizona Cardinals, despite them being the only perfect team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that line kind of surprised me, because you look at Green Bay, they're without their best pass rusher, Zadarius Smith.
Sorry. Arizona's at minus 260. Green Bay is at plus 225. I read that wrong.
No worries. Yeah, like I said, Arizona's undefeated. Players like Kyler Murray has traditionally given the Packers defense trouble. A running quarterback who can throw on the run. He's obviously a smaller guy. He's hard to pick up in the backfield. Packers are missing some of their better pass rushers. And speaking of COVID, the Packers don't have 3 of their starting receivers on this trip. Both Adams, Marquez Valdez Scantling, and Alan Lazard are all out of this game. MVS is still dealing with a hamstring issue, and the other two for COVID reasons. So going into the game, Green Bay definitely seems to be shorthanded. In Arizona, I don't see how Arizona loses this game. Maybe I think potentially the Packers can keep it close, but even at +6, it only pays out 110. That's probably not worth the gamble, the bet, in my opinion. I would almost say, take Arizona if you can, like -7, -7.5. If you take Arizona -7.5, it's +120 payout. That's still technically a one possession game, so it's still kind of close, but Arizona wins. I think that's probably the bet I'd be looking at here.
Yeah, it will be interesting because it's hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers, but that defense in the defense in Green Bay, it's not up to the standard that it usually is. And Arizona adding Zach Ertz, it's just like another weapon for Kyler Murray to use. So it's like this offense, it may be, even though it's not statistically the best offense in the NFL, it may be the most complete offense in the NFL.
Yeah, like you said, they're very balanced. And kind of their strengths play right into the Packers' weaknesses on defense. So, like I said, I don't expect this game to be a blowout, but I see Arizona winning fairly easily in this one.
Okay, so let's go down the list of some of the, in my opinion, and your opinion, some of the surprising ones. The Atlanta Falcons are at -155 over the Carolina Panthers at +140. Now, I know that Carolina has struggled a little bit, but overall, I feel like Carolina is the better team than Atlanta. In this case, I still have a little bit of faith in their offense, even though Christian McCaffrey is not there. This is going to be one of those games that isn't going to be very good, but that seems like a game that Carolina can just like run the ball with Chuba Hubbard and just grind down the clock to a win.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Carolina started out 3-0. They've lost their last 4 now that they're not playing the weakest teams in the league. Personally, I like Atlanta to win this game, but at +140 with Carolina, like you said, Adam, if Carolina can protect the ball, kind of bleed the clock, I would be surprised if they win by on a last second field goal or something. So at +140, those are, pretty tempting odds for Carolina to take in that game.
Now, here's an interesting one because we talked about this a little bit last week, it was last week with the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals when they had huge lines going into games. This week, the Buffalo Bills are -14 points over the Miami Dolphins. Now, one thing that I look at when I look at this is that it's a divisional game. So if you're gonna take the spread at -14, you actually should take the Dolphins at +14 because something about divisional games, they're usually a lot closer unless New England's playing the Jets and just absolutely smokes them. But Miami isn't as bad of a team as people say they are. Now, I know Buffalo is one of those teams that is a perennial Super Bowl contender, but we saw with the Rams and the 49ers, like anything can happen. When you have these big spreads out there, it's always better to take the underdog in that case.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you, Adam. And the reason I say that is, I think everybody expects Deshaun Watson to be traded to Miami. I think the trade deadline's next Wednesday. Tua came out, I think it was yesterday, and said he feels disrespected and unwanted by the Dolphins. There's reports that Brian Flores, has lost the Dolphins locker room. I think the Bills are going to win pretty easily in this game. I will say 2 full touchdowns -14 points is a lot. Yeah, I mean, at -110 for the Dolphins +14, you're not even getting plus odds. So in that case, I'd probably just take the Bills -14 at -110. Bills money line is -900 as well. I mean, there's not really any juice in that, but I don't see a way that Buffalo loses this game, to be honest.
Well, one reason that the line might be like that is the last time that Buffalo played Miami in week 2, they beat the Bills beat the Dolphins 35-0. But other than that, yeah, it's been close the entire season. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it seems like Miami's kept it close. But it's also the quality of team isn't really at par. But we'll see. Who could have predicted what happened in San Francisco this week?
Yeah, no, exactly. Any given Sunday, anything can happen.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump over to San Francisco here. So the 49ers are playing the Bears. The Bears are at plus 175, 49ers at minus 200. As much as the Bears are disaster, it just seems like the 49ers are it's a week to week thing. It's like sometimes you can see them, as a playoff team, and then other weeks it's like, oh, you're going to be picking in the top 10 of the draft. So this one is kind of hard to tell because both teams are so unpredictable. And it's like, is Justin Fields going to be given the opportunity to throw the ball? We don't know that. Who, is the defense for San Francisco going to step up? We don't know that. Like, what's the offense for the 49ers going to look like? The defense for the Bears hasn't been performing up to standards. Now, I still think that the 49ers are going to win this game, but do you see any value in picking the Bears here?
Yeah, I mean, plus 175, there's definitely betting value there, but like you just said, Adam, it's so hard to tell with Chicago if they're going to put Justin Fields in positions to succeed or what's going to happen. I mean, if I was to make a bet on this game, probably I'd be looking at the Chicago Bears point total. Under 16.5 pays out at plus 100. I don't know if Chicago wins or loses this game, but I do know they're not going to score that many points. So I'd probably look at under 16.5 total points for Chicago.
Yeah, so last week, versus the Bucks, Justin Fields 184 yards passing, 3 interceptions. The week before that, 174 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But it seems like every week he's getting a little bit better. They do have some offensive weapons in Chicago, but it's more about running the ball even with Justin Fields. They're trying to create him into this Kyler Murray type mold.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I think that probably suits Justin Fields better. He's a mobile quarterback, but as much as they try to make him into a, out of the pocket passer, run around, they also have a lot of their offense still based on the Andy Dalton, sit in the pocket for 5 seconds and throw screens and slants and out routes. So I just find there's no consistency with what the Bears try to do that, I find them a very hard team to figure out, like you said, what's going to happen week to week. And, to be honest, I don't know if I'd even want to make a bet on this game just because both teams, like you said, have been so up and down and unpredictable as to what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then you have, on the other end, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, which is just who knows with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he's not a great I think we can say by this point he's not really the right quarterback for San Francisco at this point of his career and San Francisco's offense. So yeah, it's very difficult to tell like if it's worth it to put money on this game.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, if there's one bet I'd look at, it'd be Chicago under 16.5 points, but otherwise, I don't know. Like, there's just too unpredictable, like you outlined.
Okay, so let's jump in here to so the problem is with this week is that there's a lot of games that really are expected wins. We don't really have many games that could produce upsets. One that we do have is Sunday Night Football, Dallas versus Minnesota. Right now, the Dallas Cowboys are at plus 120, while Minnesota is at minus 135. Now, I know Dallas Cowboys fans think that their team is the best in the league. But if you look at how they've been producing, CeeDee Lamb has stepped up for their offense. Dak is looking like uh, his old self. Their defense is intercepting every game. Minnesota, I know that they found some footing, but this is one game where I think that you take the quote unquote betting underdog in the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure what's going on with Dak Prescott on this. I would expect the Cowboys to be favored in this game. So that line tells me that something is wrong with Prescott. Either he's not going to play or he's questionable to play. And for that reason, I'd probably take Minnesota to win. This is one of those games. Dallas is clearly in first place in their division. They don't need to win this game. Like, it's not a must win. So I wouldn't be surprised if they limit what Dak Prescott does, or if they even sit him down entirely and just rest his calf. And for that reason, I'd probably be looking at Minnesota here.
Yeah, so the report as of today is that Dak Prescott wants to play, but he doesn't want to re-injure his calf and the ligaments in there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's something to watch, because as soon as it's announced that if Dak Prescott is playing, you're going to want to jump online and put that bet down on the Dallas Cowboys, because that line is going to change very quickly. So you want to get in there as soon as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, much similar to the San Francisco and Bears game we just discussed. There's so much uncertainty with the Cowboys here. I honestly do believe Dak playing or not playing would be the difference between a Cowboys win or loss, and I'd probably just avoid this game altogether.
Yeah, that's very questionable for sure. We're not going to touch the Seahawks game because betting on the Seahawks is just pointless. Right now, they're favored to beat. They're the favorite to beat Jacksonville. So honestly, just bet on Jacksonville. That's what we've come to expect. They're frustrating, and we're not going to spend time on them because they they hurt me too many times.
I was going to say, if you're in a Survivor League, this would be the week to take Jacksonville.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. This this could be the last couple games for Pete Carroll, depending on how the season goes. They probably will pull the Russell Wilson was hurt card, but I think this might be the end for Carroll in Seattle.
Yeah, I don't see him coming back next year.
Yeah. So I do want to. Basketball season has started here. So before we wrap up, are there any basketball lines that we have tonight that really interest you? We got a couple games. We got Chicago is the favorite versus the New York Knicks. We have Houston is the underdog versus Utah. Dallas is the favorite versus San Antonio, and then you got Golden State as the favorite versus Memphis. If I'm a bettor, I'm looking at that Chicago Bulls New York Knicks game and taking the Knicks at plus 100.
I'm just going to say I would be on the Knicks too. I think they sneaky have a better roster than most people give them credit for. Yeah, I mean, plus 100, the Knicks are in Chicago, so it's always, a little bit tougher to win on the road, but at plus 100, that's, seems like pretty good odds to me.
The other one that kind of interests me a little bit is the Dallas Mavericks versus the San Antonio Spurs. Like, I know that San Antonio is rebuilding, but I don't think that Dallas has the best team available. So the spread is at minus 6.5. So I would take San Antonio to cover the spread in this game, because I think it's going to be close. Those games are always close. Like we talked about with the NFL, this is a rivalry game. It's an in-state game. And I don't see Dallas completely blowing them out. But, you got to remember that Luka is the type of player that can go off for 45 points any game of the year.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I haven't paid 1 ounce of attention to what San Antonio has done to their team the last couple of years. Like you said, rebuilding, not really worth worth looking into. But the one prop bet here that I would like would be Luka over 30.5 points, pays out -108. He's very clearly the best team on the floor for either team. The best player. It's the type of game where I would expect him to step up and completely dominate.
Yeah, so we'll see how San Antonio does. They aren't the best so far, but Jakob Poeltl, the former Toronto Raptors, has been doing good. 10.8 rebounds a game. You got Keldon Johnson. You got Lonnie Walker, who also has been stepping up. DeJounte Murray. So they have like a good system where they don't rely on one player. They're a very team heavy system. So we'll see if that can shut down Denver, because I don't know, like unless Denver gets a secondary player, that team could be sputtering for a while.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
Sorry, not Denver, Dallas.
Yeah, I was going to say Dallas. Luka's probably top 5 player in the NBA, and then they have a bunch of players who, they're okay, but they're not great. So like you said, until they add another star or two, it's going to be hard for them to make a deep playoff run. But in this specific game, I think they should beat San Antonio pretty easily.
Yeah, you don't win many games down the stretch with, in my opinion, with guys like Kristaps Porzingis. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But they do have Boban, which is always an adventure. One of the best players in the NBA to cheer for.
That's right, exactly.
Okay, so I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us here on episode 18 of the UFO Show. Once again, if you do have any betting questions, or if you want us to talk a certain sport, just let us know in the comments section and we'll get on that. We'll try to focus a little bit more on that sport. But before we go, just a reminder to head over to area51sportsnetwork.com/betting. Once you're there, click the link. It will take you right to bet99.com, where once you put in your initial deposit, whatever you put in up to $600, the site will match it in a free bonus for additional payouts. So thank you once again for joining us. Thanks to Andy for once again for a great show, and we'll talk to you again next week.